Well, I was going to play Splatoon 1, but the servers are down, and they still aren't back yet, which is getting concerning because I haven't gotten to play this game in like 2 years. Oh shit. The Wii U was a failed console, but almost 1 out of every 3 Wii U owners had this nugget of a game, and we'll make sure to let you know it too, because OG Splatoon players do not shut up about being OG Splatoon players. But how did this franchise go from new IP on a console with almost no install base to one of Nintendo's big 4? Splatoon stuck out. It didn't look like other games on the shelf at the time. New characters, rich colors that contrasted each other in a bright open world with guns and paintbrushes. It was eye-catching, just like that subscribe button begging to be pressed. Compared to all the nitty-gritty shooters during this period, which looked identical to me, Splatoon had a unique style, and not just in how the game looked, but in its world too. Instead of just equipping random clothing as gear, there are brands attached to each piece of clothing, and each brand has abilities that they favor and dislike. And instead of some daily item shop, there's the Booyah Base, a pun on Bouillabaisse, a fish stew. And Splatoon as a series is full of marine puns. Weapons are based on real-life objects like water guns, paint rollers, buckets, and water hoses, and hell, the InZap is why I bought the NES as my first retro system. Each shop has a unique character running it, and there are even characters who present the news and sing live during Splatfest, the Squid Sisters. Speaking of singing, the music itself has characters and lore tied to it. Each song in the game is associated with an in-game band with their own unique style, and this even carries over into the next 2 games, where some band members leave existing groups to create their own groups. For a multiplayer game, this world has so much poured into it that grants this new kind of immersion when you enter it. You care about these characters and the world that's been bestowed upon us, and this translates right into the single player. If you go back now, you could easily 100% this game in under an hour. It's pathetically easy, but that's because we aren't kids anymore and aren't new to this series anymore. When I first got this game, it took me a good 10 hours to finish it, but it was damn fun. It taught me how to play the game, it showed me new mechanics and things I'd need to know for multiplayer, and most importantly, the level design is just solid. It feels like a Mario Galaxy style platformer, and that final boss, holy shit, that is one of the most intense fights I've ever done. Again, going back, it's pathetically easy, but back then it was really fun, challenging, and full of character. Even the levels themselves have lore tied to them. Like, this isn't a sky, these are TVs because we're underground. It's kind of wild how much they poured into the single player because like most multiplayer games at the time didn't have good single players, at least to my knowledge. So if the single player was good at launch, that must mean the multiplayer was good. No, it definitely was not. Disconnects, map design, limited modes, a small weapon pool, it had everything going against it. In fact, both my first matches in Splatoon 1 and 2 were disconnects. This trend was thankfully broken in 3 though. However, Nintendo slowly introduced updates to fix and add things that eventually created what we all know and love today. Splatoon was chaotic, adventurous, full of love and detail, and most importantly, fun. This was the first game I ever had that I straight up got addicted to because something about the gameplay had me hooked. How fluently you move, the unique mechanics no other games had seen at the time, the fast-paced nature of it all, how you felt like you had a connection to the world and its characters. It was just infinite fun, all compiled onto this disc. Now, at the time, nobody knew what the hell we were doing, especially not with this clunky-ass gamepad, so early gameplay is kinda brutal to sit and watch. Personally, I mainly played Turf War and only got to A by the end of the game's lifespan in Ranked. I didn't know what meta was, I didn't know what was good or not, and my favorite stage was, and unironically still is, Moray Towers.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
It's terrible, awful, literally shouldn't exist, every bad adjective in the English lexicon, and I love it. Again, I mainly played Turf War and these 3 things, which kind of explains why, but I never grew out of my love for it, except in competitive, because whenever I was playing X or League in 2, I skipped rotations with it, and that's a little redeeming for me, right? Probably not, but I did get someone who played Splatoon 1 comp.
I had fun with it. I was really bad, and I was very new, and I wasn't really good at like learning fast, so it's definitely a weird experience to get used to. But I had fun the whole way through. Like even when I was like at the bottom looty dibs and stuff, I still had fun playing the game, and getting better was an experience that I think felt very rewarding. So I enjoyed it for sure. I think the meta was very aggressive a lot of the time, very individualistic, and it was very rewarding on an individual scale. Like, if you got good at the game, you would feel it. It would be very rewarding, whereas, like, Splatoon 2 is very much you have to also coordinate to really feel that reward. And I think Splatoon 3 has hit a healthy middle ground, but Splatoon 1 always had a very satisfying, I am individually getting better at the game. That kind of feedback loop, I think, was something I really enjoyed. I only really found competitive because I got S plus 99, and I didn't really know what to do from there. Then I saw a YouTube video on it, so I was like, oh, okay. So this is what you do from here.
Okay,
and I did it.
It's kind of crazy to hear people in the comp scene talk about the things that I liked are actually bad. I had no problem with Salt Spray Rig, Moray Towers, Arowana Mall, Aero Spray. It was all just there for me. Going back, I definitely see the issues, but I mean, sometimes I wish I could go back to this time where all I cared about was playing the game and I didn't care about what kits weapons had. If I'd seen these weapons were getting in Sizzle Season today, I'd have been all, whoa, a white wiper, a totally new branded weapon, holy sh**, crack-on rollers back, instead of, oh great, we have a really good missile weapon now to ruin the game, and roller's still trash despite having crack it again. Oh, and mine's on Nova, okay. Splatoon holds a special place in my heart. I got it in 5th grade, day 1, and now have a fast-growing YouTube channel dedicated to it and have graduated high school. I grew up with it, but it's not like Breath of the Wild where I played it in 2017 and that was it. I may have grown up loving it, but when Tears of the Kingdom was announced and released, I wasn't thinking about how it's been years and how I'm happy to see these same characters and world again. I'm just excited that this amazing game is a thing. But when Splatoon 3 was announced,
is this Splatoon?
and released, it was emotional. It was emotional to see these characters have a fitting conclusion in the final boss. It was emotional to see just how grown up Inklings look now and how much the world around me has changed. This is me. This is my Inkling from 2015, a random 14-year-old kid in Inkopolis, now leading the Squidbeak Splatoon. He grew up with me, just like this franchise did, and I love it more for it. It came out at the perfect time for me, and it changed my life.